How you guys doing today? Some of you guys are Eagles fans. Sorry about that.
I agree.
Feel your pain. Yeah. I don't worry. I get that all the time as well. Right? Go to the grocery store or something. People are like, "How are you doing?" I'm like, not great. You know, I've been better. So, feel your pain right now. We are like, you know, back at it another week. Like you play on Saturday, and then you jump right into what's next in that, you know, another tough opponent coming up here on Tuesday, Illinois, who is, you know, one of the best teams in our league and one of the most talented teams in our league. So, yeah, the road doesn't get easier, and you know that. We know that playing in this league, how tough it is and how tough it's going to be. So, you bounce back, you learn from what you saw, get back to work, get back to practice, and you try and conquer the next challenge. And that's what we're doing. And that's, you know, we had a good day yesterday. We'll come back in, practice again today. And then, you know, we're going to go out and give it our all tomorrow night.
I reserved the right tactic, a big baby for 3 more days about yesterday. So, the defensive performance against Maryland seemed like it was a tick up from what we've seen recently, at least early. Assuming you got a chance to rewatch it, how would you evaluate how the team did best?
Yeah, and we talked about it as a team. There's areas that have been hurting us during this stretch. There's areas that have been hurting us this season, but especially during this stretch, where we were better at Maryland. You know, our turnovers early led to some pick sixes, led to some layups, some transition opportunities. You take those away, and then you take away some of the fouls late in the game. And even when we were scrambling and they were scoring late in the game, I felt like we had a solid defensive performance. You know, there were mistakes that were made, right? There are always going to be. But I thought our effort was there. I thought our execution was there for the most part. Now we just need to put it together for longer stretches.
Maybe this would have been better to ask in the grocery store, but in all seriousness, you know, you're a young coach. I can't imagine you've been a part of many 4-game losing streaks over the last however many years with the programs you were with. How are you dealing with that, and how cognizant are you that kind of all eyes in the program are kind of on you while you guys are trying to fight out of this?
Yeah. We had a lot of 4-game losing streaks my first year in Boston.
Right?
A lot of 4-game losing streaks with that group. We were a bad ball club. But yeah, like, no, it's still a learning experience. But it also, like, you know, people tell me all the time, and I get, you know, I talk to a lot of people in coaching, guys that are going through something similar, guys that aren't. You know, there's you lean on a lot of people, and you also lean on, like, your staff. Like, I have an unbelievable staff and guys that are really helpful, like, in the process, in the moment, whether it be with our own guys, whether it be with me, whatever it may be and whatever we need. So, you know, it's part of it, right? Like, you're never, we talk about it at the beginning of the season, you don't know what it's going to be, but so you're going to hit adversity at some point, whether that's an injury, whether that's you losing a few games in a row. You know, you never know what it's going to be. It's about how you respond to it. And, you know, that's part of the learning experience.
Coach, from an outsider's perspective, I see the guys passing up on open passes. I see the guys kind of flopping a little bit after missed plays. Is that, from your perspective, do you think that's more of a result of the frustrations of losing, or more of the reason you're losing?
No, it's definitely not the reason. I could point to a lot of defensive mistakes that we're making. Like, we're 113th when I looked yesterday. That's the reason we're losing, right? We're 63 places higher than we were last year. You know, we're not guarding people at the same level. You know, that's part of guys holding each other accountable, right? A good team has to be a player-led team. So that's guys like stepping up when other people make mistakes and communicating that. Like that's part of our group growing as well. When you have a team that's never, like we're experienced, but nobody's ever played together, right? Except for Miles and Seth, and then you had in Pickett last year, the guys that are playing. So sometimes they're still learning that, right? And then when everything's good, you don't have to step on anybody's toes. Right? You can keep things kosher. But, you know, sometimes, like, you need guys to say something. And it's like the old elementary school. If you see something, say something, right? Like, you need to be a player-led group. They need to hold each other accountable. I think they're doing that. So it's definitely not the reason we're losing. I can tell you that right now. I watch a lot of our stuff, a lot of our film, and we got some areas we need to continue to get better at and continue to correct.
We've, through the course of the season, talked about officiating in one way or another. How would you evaluate this group's ability in game to push past some of the frustrations that have emerged from the officiating side, including yourself?
Yeah, I don't think our guys are overly bothered by it, right? They're just playing. I try and just get through it in the same way. You know, you get, it is what it is, right? You just gotta play. You just gotta play through it. And like, you know, I gotta be better at keeping the focus on our group, on our team. You know, when there's moments of frustration, of like, you know, continuing to coach, continue to stay in the moment, continue to see what we need next. You know, and that's something that I need to help them with. But I don't think it's bothering our guys. They're just playing. They're just playing. They play the game and they react to it. And you know, there's some things that we need to do better as a team on both ends of the court that, you know, maybe changes a few of those calls.
Micah, you talked about learning from what you're seeing, and you talked about in the past, you know, also kind of on the self-scouting yourself. Like, what have you kind of learned about yourself during this working stretch and trying to turn it around?
Yeah, it's you know, you always go back, and I always go back to, like, you know, the preparation piece of it, of what we're doing and how much work you got to put into it. But, you know, at times you also have to remember what these guys are going through as well, right? Like, nobody, like, as upset as people may be with how we're losing or how many games we've lost, nobody's as upset as those guys in the locker room, right? They've been putting in this time all summer, all fall, all the way through, you know, up until now, right? So, like, nobody's as upset as those guys because they've put a lot into this, and it hurts, right? It hurts when you do lose. But being able to help them bounce back, being able to keep a positive spirit, you know, you go through times like this, but you go through a whole season, and at points in times, it's never as bad as you think it is, and it's never as good as you think it is either. So trying to keep an even keel, but keeping these guys as upbeat as they can be, which they've done. They have a good spirit and a good way about them. About, all right, let's just get to what's next, right? Can't do anything about what's happened in the past. Yeah, just continue to look forward, continue to push forward, and, you know, I need to continue to help them in that way, kind of be the best versions that they can be each time we get a chance to step on the floor.
Like you mentioned that if you see something, say something thing. Who has stepped up in that regard with sort of calling guys out, and how have the guys maybe on the receiving end of that reacted to it? Have they been receptive, and has it been like normal culturally?
Yeah, no, it's definitely normal culturally. That's what you need from your group, from your leaders. everything else. We've had a lot of guys that have really kind of stepped up to say stuff, and whatever it might be, whether it's offensive issues, defensive issues, whether it's what we're doing in practice, how we're preparing, like anything. I think Seth is, like, in his own way, kind of behind the scenes, said a lot. Right? Really like using his voice to talk and speak up and talk about what he's seeing, but also, like, admitting his mistakes at the same time, right? So I think we're getting a lot of that. We had a great film session before Maryland where it was more player-led, and I think that helped them, right? That you get a chance to talk through the mistakes or what you're seeing on the court together, because they're the guys that are out there playing.
Coach, I know you live in want-to-know country here at Penn State, but how much time do you guys spend talking about the big picture of leading into the tournament? It's something the media and the fans talk a lot about. Have you guys wasted any energy on that?
No, we're just trying to get better, right? Because there's some things that are in your control, there's some things that are out of your control, and as long as we handle what we're supposed to handle or do what we're supposed to do, like with the things we can control, then good things will happen to you at the end. But you can't look past it, right? As soon as I take my eyes off of what's immediately in front of me and I start glancing somewhere else, right? Like, that's when you get hit by a truck or it's when you hit a deer or something like that, right? I got to keep my eyes focused on what is directly in front of me, and that's it. Right, and look, we're not looking around, we're not glancing around, we're not thinking about anything else but what's next, and that's trying to beat a really good Illinois team.
Could you assess Kanye's play, especially in that atmosphere? I mean, 18,000 people, it looked like it was too big of a moment for him.
Yeah, I thought he played with good poise of. Having no turnovers versus how they play was big. You need how they play, how Maryland presses and then falls back into zone and flips to man and changes defenses. It's hard to prepare for, especially in a short amount of time, right, to be really good at it. I felt like we needed more ball handlers in that game, so he got to play an extended amount of minutes. And he did a good job attacking. He did a good job kind of surveying what they were doing, picking his moments to attack, picking his moments when to get in the paint, when to kick out, and everything else. So you're seeing steps from him, and he's growing, and he's doing a good job of figuring that out. Now, what's your biggest challenge as a young player is everybody tells you how great you are after you play that game, and now, like, how do you follow that up? Right, that's your biggest step right there, is like come back and have a good 2 days of practice and then do it again. You got to do it again. That's the biggest thing. And this is another team that can really pressure you, that really turns people over. So we need more ball handling. We need more guys that can attack and get in the paint, that we can get shots or quality shots every single possession. So we're going to need him to play the same exact way this game.
You mentioned following it up with 2 good practices. How has he followed up? How did he follow up yesterday? And what does the next step on the court look like for Kanye to be a consistent part of the rotation?
Yeah, he was good yesterday, right? We didn't get a chance to do a whole lot, but being back, coming back, right, bouncing back. Whether that's a hard kind of balance right there. It's like, and I played really well. It's like, yeah, we also lost. Right, like as a team, I got to think about our team as well, but I also got to have the confidence that I can do this and I can, perform like this. So he was good yesterday. Today will be another good test for him to come back in and do the same exact things, because how you practice is how you play. That's a big part of it, leading up to a game. Like, I've never been around a guy that's been a bad practice guy and is like played really well in games. There aren't many guys that are like that, right? So, like, I put a lot of weight into that, how you practice, because that's usually who you are. It's usually what what you get, right? So he puts together back-to-back good days. It's like, okay, he's locked in, he's making steps. You know, I'm not saying that he didn't do that before. I'm just saying how I weigh things. So he just needs to continue to do that. I think, you know, the more people put the attention on the guys on the perimeter shooting threes, the more opportunities he's going to have to get into the paint. Now he's got to finish it better when he gets in there. He did a pretty good job the other day, but he hasn't up until this point. So he's got to keep doing that, keep helping us, keep giving us another threat at the rim.
What work you guys still on the first time around?
We didn't turn the ball over a lot, right? That's, you know, it's a huge key against them. They didn't straight dominate us on the glass. I think that was a huge key. Like, you have to do that against these guys. They can just beat you up on the glass. They're a really good offensive rebounding team. They get out in transition, especially when they turn you over, and they're hard to stop in that way. So taking care of the ball, not getting dominated on the glass, and trying to get as many quality shots as we can get. We got some shots in transition. We got some open threes, which helped us, which helped open up the game a little bit. We got to try that again. We got to try and get those same opportunities by getting shots, getting quality shots if we don't turn it over.
So obviously foul drawing, at least foul calling has been an issue. How can Kanye kind of help with that regard when it comes to getting to the rim with the speed and finishing around the rim?
I don't know if he ends up drawing more fouls, but just his ability to get into the paint to score, right? Like, you can't guard everything. If you're guarding these guys on the perimeter as close and as tight as possible, then it's one-on-one at some point in time. And I think he is one of the lone guys that has the ability to just break you down one-on-one and get into the paint and go get a bucket. And, you know, we just need more of that. Like, and now that creates a shift a little bit of, if he's beating his man, then somebody's got to help, right? So now the focus goes off of somebody else over towards him, and now more guys are getting open. So, you know, maybe it does. Like, I don't know if it changes anything. He's also a freshman, so he's not going to get very many calls when he attacks the rim. But if he plays smartly, if he plays the right way with his drives, if he's patient with his drive, if he's physical with his drives, he might draw fouls. He might get some uncontested layups.
With Illinois, going back to Illinois, that first game was a long time ago at this point. They've had their own share of ups and downs. How are they different at this point in the year? How have you seen that team evolve, what you're seeing now versus what you saw 2 months ago?
Yeah, we've played so many teams twice since we've played them. Right? Like now, you know, whether it be Michigan, Wisconsin, whoever it may be, we've played a bunch of teams and we're like finished with them, right? Since we've played them. But all of the preparation for those teams were easy because they were all the same. Illinois is playing completely different than they played the first time that we played them, offensively and defensively. Right? So it's like you're playing a brand new team. Some of the people are the same. Their rotation has shifted a little bit more where Dange is playing. You know, he's starting and now playing more minutes than he was at the start. And, you know, their point guards is shifted. And, but some of the main characters with Shannon, with Meyer, Coleman Hawkins, those guys are like, they're the same. And how they play, like the ability of those two wings to make threes, but also get into the paint, but also rebound the basketball is the same from game one, but how they get to their shots and everything else completely different. It's totally, like, I haven't seen it very much where a team flips what they do in a season like this, and they've made that shift, and now they're having success with it. You know, which is like what impresses me, I think, with them is they're probably one of the lone teams in the Big Ten. I'd have to look this up. Iowa, Potentially, maybe, because they score a lot of points. But Illinois' got 5 guys that are close to double figures in league play. I think Danger or Epps and I don't know who's outside of that, but they're like above 9 points a game, like right beneath it. And then the other 3 guys are, double figure scorers, so that they're playing a lot of guys. They have a lot of guys that can go off at any point in time. But it's a brand new preparation for us because we got to guard them a completely different way than we did in game 1.
How are they different?
Just what they're running, just how they're guarding, right? Like game 1, they were switching everything. Didn't matter who they were pressing. They were switching every screen on and off the ball, right? They're not doing that anymore. They're playing Danger a lot more minutes, so he's dropping in pick and rolls. They're playing more traditional pick and roll defense. And then offensively, they're getting into more of a pattern kind of offense. Earlier they're really playing kind of a 5-out system and doing that. And now they've changed what they do. So, it's different. Everything's different. So you're seeing some of the stuff that Coach Underwood was doing, like when he first got here offensively, when he first got to Illinois. I think you're seeing some more of that kind of stuff. And then they mixed in a few sets that they like for Shannon and Meyer to get some shots, some stuff for Jaden Epps to get handoffs and get to the rim. And they're posting Danger a lot more. So it's more set-based, set-oriented instead of more 5-out type stuff. Thank you.
I'm a free agent.
Andrew, do you want this off to the side or do you want it in the middle? Okay.